Hello and Hello and welcome to Jakarta, where once again this scorching Indonesian capital plays host to the spectacle of the Formula E World Championship. After the last round in Monaco, we now have a new championship leader, but this is a double header. So after this weekend, it could all change, and especially at the top. It is very much the business end of the season. So in the hunt for the driver's title, the gloves are officially off.
Formula E returns to Jakarta. The Jaguars collide! Come on, come on, come on!
What an incredible place this is. Welcome to Jakarta, welcome to Indonesia, and welcome to round 10 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. This weekend is about two things, an opportunity and a test. The opportunity for 6 of the top drivers in the standings so far to end the weekend as World Championship leaders. The test, the conditions, it's unbelievably hot, unbelievably humid, and so the biggest challenge any of these Gen 3 cars have ever faced. Delighted to be joined by former Andretti driver Ollie Askew, former Formula E World Champion Nelson Piquet Jr. And lads, the first thing I've realised is that knitwear and Jakarta does not mix. But what does mix is awesome racing. Ollie, you were here last year. You sweated yourself to the finish line. What was it like?
Absolutely brutal. I think this is the first weekend of the year where I don't envy what these drivers are about to do behind me. I recall last year almost fainting, getting out of the car, and that was just a single header. Now we have a race today, a race tomorrow. Recovery tonight is going to be extremely important for these athletes, and yeah, it's going to be a hot one.
It really is going to be a war of attrition. An athlete is the word. In terms of athletes, you are one, world champion. Nick Cassidy is a championship leader so far. Targets on his back now. What's going to be going through his head? What is it like when you're in season 1 and you can smell that title?
I don't think he's just thinking about the championship. He's just going to be the same mindset he's been doing the last couple of races, just scoring as many points as he can, having smart races, not getting involved in any incidents, and just picking up the points, passing one by one. His powertrain maybe wasn't great in qualifying, but for sure they have good efficiency for the race.
And just finally, Ollie, there's an awful lot of atmosphere here. This is going to be something special, but it has to be said, the word preparation is key to any motorsport driver. Formula E is no different, as Saunders Carmichael Brown found out when he caught up with Jake Hughes.
Jake, thank you very much for inviting us to this sim session here. I mean, as far as HQs go, this is a pretty special one.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Now, you're here for business. You're here to learn the Jakarta track, get in the sim. Can you give us a rough idea of what a simulator session or a day looks like for you?
We normally get in at like 8 o'clock and finish about 6 or 7 o'clock, so they're long days, but we have to make sure we prepare for 3 or 4 days on the simulator before each event to set up the energy management, you know, where the car tells us when to lift, you know, where we have the different brake bias settings for different corners. We can't just turn up in free practice 1 in half an hour and expect to get that all right. So the role the simulator plays in Formula E is more important than any other championship I've been involved in, honestly.
I'm joined by Robin, who is the simulator engineer.
That's right.
Thank you very much for letting us have this exclusive access while all this action goes on. Can you tell me, just top line figure, how many things you can change in a Formula E simulator?
Our car configuration file would have up to 16,000 lines.
16,000? Just the car?
Numbers. Just the car, the suspension pickups, tyre grip levels, aerodynamic maps, those kind of things. There's the inputs from the track, there's the inputs from the vehicle model itself. There's a huge number of variables. As an example of something we do with the tracks, we can run what's called a standard definition surface, but we can also run a high definition surface where they will literally map with a LiDAR scanner down to millimetre accuracy of the surface roughness.
So in the question of how accurate are these simulators, the answer is very.
Exceedingly, yeah.
So when thinking about the upcoming race, Jakarta, in terms of the challenges that circuit offers, it's very unique. How can you simulate that, or what can you simulate?
I think the hardest part about Jakarta compared to the other tracks we've been to so far this year is the heat. If the motors, if the batteries is struggling with the heat in Jakarta, then that has a big knock-on effect with how much we can regen. That has a big knock-on effect with how much deployment we can add in the car, so how late or early we can lift. And we can simulate all of that in the simulator. We can simulate track temp, air temp, battery temperature and things like that. If we just simulated one calibration, as we would call it, with a certain level of temperature, and then got to the track and it was much more aggressive or much easier on temperature management, then we would be a bit screwed. So we have to prepare for 3 or 4 different eventualities and make sure when we get there we're not surprised.
Oh, it's so dusty. There's no grip. A lot of rear locking everywhere, really.
Yeah, copy.
So, Jake Hughes, first free practice session in the books. First of all, how did it compare to what you did in the simulator?
Quite different, surprisingly different actually. It's a lot hotter. I can confirm that. So that's a big challenge we're going to have to face this weekend. But the biggest effect on our race performance will probably be how the car responds to the heat, and we can have a bit of an effect on that. So now it's about trying to see if what we did in the simulator will help us in reality in terms of that preparation.
So that data gathered can go back and help make the simulator even more realistic.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like a full circle every time. The simulator helps us prepare for the track in the best way, and therefore what we learn at the track will help us improve the simulators to help us next time at the track. So next year, when we come back to Jakarta, we'll be even better prepared because the simulator is a step forward than what we had this year.
There we go, another further reminder of how much work happens on the track, but also back at base in a race weekend.
Jake Hughes, meticulous. Well, unfortunately for Jake Hughes, his work didn't pay off because in qualifying, he actually managed only 20th. So he really has it all to do. But as for us here, would you look at the shots there? Absolutely glorious. It is roasting, but it's safe to say the racing's going to be red hot.
Envision Racing's Nick Cassidy leads the way in the Drivers' Championship for the very first time in his Formula E career.
The checkered flag is there! Cassidy wins in Monaco!
The Kiwi is on a blistering run of form, including back-to-back wins at the last 2 rounds in Berlin and Monaco. Cassidy's hot streak has coincided with a dramatic slump for longtime championship leader Pascal Wehrlein, who looked unstoppable for Porsche at the start of the season, winning 2 of the first 3 races.
Double win! Yeah!
But a heavy crash in Hyderabad sparked a downturn in results, with the championship lead slipping from his grasp in Monaco. The German will need to lay it all on the line this weekend to reignite his title charge. Jake Dennis, driving for Porsche's customer team Avalanche Andretti, also impressed early in the season, winning in Mexico and scoring a double podium in Diriyah.
Fantastic, Jacob. What a start to the season.
But the Brit's form took a nosedive as he failed to score a point in 4 consecutive races. His early results a distant memory.
People are incapable of using the brakes.
But 2 podium finishes in the last 2 races have revitalised his championship challenge. Dennis firmly back in the title race. Jaguar's season started slowly and reached a low point in India.
The 2 Jaguars collide!
Can we keep going? Another right race.
But it was soon to be water under the bridge as Mitch Evans was onto a winning streak in round 6 and 7, launching himself into the title frame.
Yes! Come on! Yes! Mega drive!
It's been a frustrating year for former champion Antonio Felix da Costa, but the Porsche star gave us one of the moments of the season on his way to victory in Cape Town.
Look at this! From the Portuguese! There's no room, but he just sends it. This is wild.
Good job, dude. Good job.
Highs and lows too for DS Penske. Defending champion Stoffel van Dorn has had a season to forget.
He just completely drives me into the wall.
But teammate Jean-Eric Verne has scored points consistently since his victory in Hyderabad.
And Verne takes the checkered flag and wins in Hyderabad.
Brilliant drive, John.
And remains in the thick of the title fight in 5th. But with 5 podiums in the last 6 races, the momentum is very much with Envision Racing's Nick Cassidy. Eyeing a hat-trick of wins today and hoping to tighten his grip on the championship.
We can now listen to the wonderful sights and sounds of the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya.
Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Hadirin dimohon duduk kembali. Please be seated.
Well, wonderful sights and sounds there, it has to be said. The preparation that's gone into this race is second to none. But in terms of qualification, there's so much to talk about, so many stories here, and so many reasons for us to be excited, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hot over here. I can hardly think well over here. Imagine what the drivers are going through, you know? But it's going to be an interesting race because a lot of drivers thinking about the championship. Some of them are going to be really coming really strongly from the back, like Mitch, for example. He doesn't want to lose sight of the leader of the championship. He wants to keep closing the points, the gap points. So it is going to be a race. You're going to see a lot of quick cars coming from the back and attacking and trying to move forward the whole race.
We're seeing beautiful shots there from a distance. I have to say, one of the various surprises that we've had is just how hot it is, by the way. You can actually feel the heat emanating off the tarmac. When we see it and you talk about the temperature, that's not the felt temperature because it is roasting.
Yeah, to be honest, in the 5-6 seasons that I did in Formula, I don't think I've ever had one of these hot. I mean, we raced in Malaysia, raced in all kinds of different places, but I don't remember feeling this warm in a Formula E race before.
So much drama to talk about. Max Günther on pole position, his first pole in his career. The big story, though, has to be Nick Cassidy didn't manage to make the duels, and he's currently with Saunders Carmichael Brown now.
So here with Nick Cassidy, you're currently leading the championship, but it's safe to say there's a little bit of a challenge ahead of you today. How do you plan to overcome that?
Yeah, big challenge. We're not fast enough here. I think that's clear, but we've made good steps each session. We were nowhere in FP1, a bit better in FP2, a bit better in quali. Probably the top 6 have got something on us, but if we can end up behind them, that'll be a pretty good day.
What do you think the most difficult thing to manage in this race is going to be? Is it going to be the conditions, or is it going to be something with the driving style?
I think it's going to be the format. I'm not expecting an exciting race. I think it's going to be a bit dull.
Well, hopefully that's not the case, but all the best, mate.
So too. Cheers.
We'll see you at the end. Go keep cool.
Here with my man, Jake Dennis. Feel pretty chill down here. How are you doing?
I'm cold. I've got my ice vest on, sat with you, chatting. But I'm feeling confident going into the race. It's obviously going to be really tough for the driver, the tyres, the battery. All that's going to be a big deciding factor on who wins this race. I'm looking forward to it. You know, I'm normally starting like 10th to 12th the past few races, and to be in the front row is a big testament to the team and the effort we've made in qualifying at least. Hopefully we can continue into the race.
You told me before qualifying that you were hoping you weren't going to be on the inside of this row here. You ended up here. Need me to have a sweep? Yeah. Try and clean up the box for you?
Yeah, there's been a really big difference in testing, at least, that the left to right side. Generally, P5 has been getting alongside P2. So I don't think I stand a chance against Pascal, to be honest, off the line. But nevertheless, if we can... adjustable ride lights going on here, don't we? But if we can come out the first turn in P3, I'll be happy.
If we can turn the camera around, there's a lot of work being done on the front end of Jake's car. Maybe you can explain a little bit of what you felt on the preparation lap there.
Yeah, basically we had it in qualifying as well, that we've got like a small knocking in the front of the car. It's really distracting. Honestly, the balance feels pretty good, but it's just a bit more of a worry in the back of my head and annoying sound while I'm driving the whole time. So we're trying to find the issue. Ultimately, we changed quite a lot of things before this, but the issue was still there on the formation lap, so hopefully we can get on top of the issue at least tomorrow.
Copy that. Well, good luck, man. Wish you the best. Back to you guys.
So here on the grid with Mitch Evans, who's looking very cool in more ways than one. This is essential for today, is it not?
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I think last year was obviously really, really hot, but you kind of we forgot how hot it was. So I've done my ice bath, I've got my ice vest on. So yeah, apart from that, you can't really do much else to try and keep it cool here.
Okay, we've talked about it a lot. We know this race is going to be challenging, but from the position where you're starting, what is the biggest challenge to overcome?
I think we're going to see maybe a slightly different race to the last few. The last year has obviously been a massively like slipstream sensitive race, so where you kind of started wasn't too let's say critical. But I think the race will be quite fast, yeah, with what they've done with the energy targets. So yeah, it's not the, to be honest, not the ideal starting position. You know, I think track position is a bit more critical today. So yeah, we just struggled with a bit of pace since yesterday, and we've not been able to find it. We made some changes for the race, so hopefully we can make some progress.
Where do you think we're going to see the most action? First half of the race, second half of the race?
It's formally, you know, it can happen throughout. It can be slow and steady to begin with, and it just goes nuts towards the end. So I don't know. I think from the start we'll start to see, you know, people trying to make some progress potentially. But yeah, hopefully I'm amongst it, and then I'm towards the front come the end.
A man that keeps his cards very close to his ice vest. Thanks very much, Mitch. All the best.
I'm going to chuck it out there. I think Mitch Evans is going to push, and I think he's going to climb. Not possibly to this position here. Max Günther, his career first pole position, an opportunity to convert. How does he do that?
I mean, Max is probably a little bit nervous. His first pole position, his chance of winning a race. He's not even here at the moment. He's back in the garage. He's trying to stay in cool air, trying to stay concentrated away from us, away from the public, all the fans. So I think he's just trying to maintain his head clear. And let's hope for him. I mean, there's a long straight over here. Let's see if he needs to have a good start over here to try to beat the Porsche to the first corner and keep it clean. It's going to be a tough race.
And in his rearview mirror is an ominous sight, it has to be said, because this is the Gulavit Jakarta E-Prix. Ahead of race day here in Jakarta, Saunders caught up with Apta Cupra reserve driver Kelvin van der Linde to see how the drivers keep a cool head on the hottest E-Prix of the season.
Thank you very much for this exclusive access into the Apta Cupra garage, because what we have ahead of us is some pretty interesting, unique conditions. We're talking 35-degree heat, 80% humidity. What sort of strain does that put on the car?
In the past, the batteries are normally the limiting factor in Gen 2, Gen 1. With the new Gen 3 car, you can probably expect the battery won't be as big of a limiting factor, just purely because the new car is so much more efficient than the past Gen 2. What we do have now is the new front powertrain. It's more limited by the temperature. You'll see a lot of the guys using this strategically, because naturally when the front FPK starts to overheat, the guys are not as easily able to regen, so that means they're less efficient during the race.
What about tyres though? Surely that they're impacted.
I mean, tyres are always a big talking point at the hot races. It's something which is a big challenge for the teams, not only in a race scenario, but also for qualifying. The drivers really need to nail their one lap with the tyres in its perfect operating window.
Interesting. So I want to take full use of this access that you've given us. What can you show me in terms of things to keep drivers cool?
Well, there's a lot of, let's say, in-the-game secrets that we like to use. So here we are in the driver's container. These containers travel with us to pretty much every race around the world. The drivers have all their stuff prepared, drivers' drinks bottles, which our physios are preparing with electrolytes, all that kind of stuff. People think, okay, you turn a steering wheel, go on the throttle pedal. It's really not that simple for these guys. Obviously, the guys are already starting with a formation lap. They're standing on the grid, they're baking in the sun, doing interviews. You know, all that is just taking up energy, we're sweating it out, and then in the race itself, you're going to probably burn another 2 kilograms of body weight, which was obviously only in fluid, which is insane to think about it.
What else can drivers do to combat heat and humidity?
First of all, we've got a cooling vest. You'll see a lot of the drivers on the grid actually wearing them. You've got to see the human body kind of like an engine. It doesn't go from 0 to 100 instantly. It's a gradual build-up of body temperature. So the more you can delay that process, the better it is for the race. This is pretty much a trick of the trade. It's like a liquid ice. It's a certain spray that the guys use on their underwear. So it gives them a very cooling effect. This lasts for about half an hour. Yeah, half of the race distance. The other half of the race, you're pretty much just hanging on.
What sort of things are teams doing
Oh, you can see obviously we have these misting fans, which will obviously help the crew out the back here stay cool. We've got obviously the tents here, you know, giving as much shade as possible. And this is probably where you'll see during the weekend a lot of those pools popping up. So the ice baths, which is obviously for the drivers, it's perfect.
You've got all the right gadgets to keep you cool, but it's one thing saying it, another thing doing it.
It's tough, but yeah, that's why we travel the world doing this thing, and we do what we love. And to be honest, there's worse things than sweating a little bit in a race car. So I think we'll be fine.
Thanks for the access, Gavin. Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Well, for the beady-eyed amongst you, you might just be able to detect a blue umbrella, because underneath the umbrella is the current pole sitter, Maximilian Günther. Max, first of all, from a temperature standpoint, it's roasting. How's your body getting on?
I'm good, trying to keep cool, and yeah, feeling good.
Seeing that car there in P1, what does that mean to you? Obviously massive opportunity, obviously massive pressure, but a personal achievement.
It's great, it's a fantastic feeling, you know, first pole position for me in Formula E. It's definitely a small milestone, you know, I've been winning races already. And yeah, now to get this box ticked as well is good, but you know, now full focus on the race. I'm really feeling great so far this weekend. We know we have got strong competitors around us. So yeah, we just try to, you know, extract all from our package, and then we see what's going to happen today.
Thank you for your time. I know you're fully focused on the race. Just final question is, what will you do to convert to points now? Because this is, again, a huge opportunity for you.
Staying cool, doing a normal job, and yeah, if we do that, I think we can have a good amount of points today.
Well, you're staying cool, calm and collected. Good luck today, and massive congratulations for early on. We can now go from P1 to P4, because the man who isn't necessarily known for staying cool is John-Eric Verne, and he's with Ollie Askew now.
Here with John-Eric Verne, 5th in the championship, 5th on the grid here today. How are you feeling?
I'm 4th, actually.
Are you 4th?
Yes, on the grid, not in the championship. Feeling pretty hot, actually, but it's going to be a fun race. Would be good. I think we have a good car here this weekend. And qualifying went quite good, so hopefully we can gain a few positions in the race and have a good one.
Stellantis cars qualified in the top 6. Is this something track specific, or is it something that you guys have found now with the extra performance?
I'd love to know. The truth is I don't really know. I mean, we come here, we have very little practice, and the car was good straight away, and on the both Maserati and ourselves. So I think, yeah, we must have a package that fit this track quite well, but to explain you why, I don't really know.
Sounds good. Well, good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, in terms of the temperature, we can get it official. We have it here, 39 degrees on the track. That's it, he says. He's used to more. He wants more. And by the way, and the humidity as well, 64. It does feel a lot more than 64 because we are sweating. You walk fast and you feel it. When you're driving, I imagine you're feeling something else. And this, by the way, is an ominous sight.
It is a beautiful sight starting from the front row. I mean, either one of these drivers must be very happy to be over here. And luckily, they'll pass this first corner without any issues and go on from there, because always these first corners in Formula E are a bit of a drama. So this one is not that tight, so hopefully everybody will go through without any issues.
Speaking to Max, speaking to Jev, they're obviously two people that are focused, but they're calm. At what point do they flick that switch?
5 laps to go. I think 5 laps to go, they're going to be on it. Everybody, Mitch is going to be back from, Cassidy's going to be over here. You're going to see a big dogfight towards the end of the race. I have no doubt about it.
We want to see a dogfight. I have said all this season, it has delivered like the mailman. Currently, we can basically just see into turn 1. There's so much more to this track, and this is what all of these 22 incredible drivers have to face.
Okay guys, I'm coming up to start the lap of the Formula E race here at Jakarta. I must say, what an amazing track. Coming into this corner, turn 1 really wide, turn 2 and 3 wide again. We're going to see a lot of cars overtaking over here, fighting inside outside. Track is really flowing, a lot of grip over here. So much power in this Gen 3 car. Whoa! Woo! Sorry guys, I'm really excited. I mean, there's a lot of grip, a lot of power. This Gen 3 car is something else. For me, this part of the track over here is one of the hardest. It's really fast. No room for mistakes. 2 corners to the end. Not a tricky place, and this is coming to the last corner. We're going to see a lot of guys dive bombing to pass someone towards the last lap.
Driving this car and having to compensate a lap around here, I think it's harder than anything else I've done before. Probably one of the most exciting tracks. Nearly all the corners are overtaking opportunities, so it's going to be, for sure, no doubt, a really exciting race.
Be honest, Nelson, how much did you like that? Because you enjoyed it just a little bit.
Next time, don't make me drive and have to try to talk around the track. I want to just enjoy the driving. But this car is so fun, so fast, especially in this track over here. So next time, I'm going to be doing my laps, and then we're going to do a, how you call it, on top of recording, like a
voiceover.
A voiceover,
do it in
exactly.
Post. We're going to break the fourth wall.
Exactly.
Why not?
I want to enjoy my 6 laps, go as quick as I can, because I couldn't concentrate and think and drive and have to talk to the public at the same time. It was too hard. But anyway, the car is so quick compared to Gen 1 back 10 years ago. I mean, it's like over double the speed. So
what double the speed? That's
double
how it
the speed, double the power. So I mean, it's another animal. I mean, it is so much more physical and fun and difficult to drive.
And that's not just the car. This track is physical as well. I mean, how are these guys going to finish after 30-odd laps?
Problem's not that. There's another race tomorrow.
Right.
So they're going to do a whole race today. They're going to have to try to recover, and then tomorrow, practice, qualifying, and race again. So they have a very, very tough weekend ahead of them.
So this is going to expose fitness as well as almost driving acuity as well.
Fitness, concentration, team strategy. I mean, they're going to have to adapt. Both races have different amount of laps, so it's going to be a different way of racing both days. So obviously, they're just going to keep thinking about, okay, the next lap. I mean, they're not going to be thinking about the race tomorrow. But the level of concentration, the more tired you get, the easier you start forgetting things, the easier it is for you to do mistakes. So they're going to have to maintain as cool as they can. And it's going to be interesting to see toward the end of the race all of the drivers, because that's towards the end of the Formula E races where we see the drivers starting to pick up, starting to really be aggressive, really pass. But then we're talking about nearly after an hour of racing, you know, so they're going to be really, really exhausted by then. So it is going to be from outside, from our position, it's going to be much easier to watch what's going on than from in there.
What makes this all the more captivating is when you think about Mitch Evans, a man who's currently in 4th place, Nick Cassidy, who's leading the World Championship, they're in P11 and P10 respectively. They're going to have to come a long way to have any chance of making it onto the podium. Then you've got John-Eric Verne in P4. Maximilian Günther, what can he do from pole position? This really is anybody's guess. Formula E delivers when it comes to the unexpected. Will it deliver just like it did last year here in Jakarta? It's time to get the action underway for the Jakarta E-Prix.
We are building up to the first of 2 races around the Jakarta International E-Prix circuit this weekend as Indonesia hosts the Formula E Championship for the 2nd year in a row. 22 cars are lined up on the grid. 6 of them have taken at least 1 victory so far this year. The title battle is ramping up. There we are looking at the 2 cars on the front row. We saw Jake Dennis starting 2nd. And there's the man on pole position, Max Günther, who did a fabulous job in both practice and in qualifying and through all the duels to win the final and make his first ever pole position in Formula E. But is he going to be able to convert that into a victory? Well, that could be a more difficult challenge. We will wait and see. Behind them, we've got 2 very rapid racers as well. Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche and Jean-Eric Verne in the DS Penske. So he knows he's got a lot of rivalry around him, but it's always good to start up front and do what you can. And he looks in cool. The Gulavit Jakarta E-Prix, round 10 of the ABB Formula E World Championship, is all set to blast into action around a track at the northern coastal edge of the largest city in the Southeast Asia. Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, hosting more than 35 million people if you include the satellite cities nestled around. The city is going to be the center of attention this weekend for the Formula E World Championship. Let's take a little look at the layout of the track here. It is some 2.37 kilometers long, Karun, and there are some good challenging aspects.
Yes, that's right. 18 corners around the circuit. A big wide open entry into turn 1 provides the best overtaking spot. The attack mode will be on the outside of turn 16. Before that, you've got turn 13, another hairpin, where you will see some pretty good overtaking with drivers having a lunge down the inside before they come through the final couple of corners of the track.
So that's where the racing takes place, and this is how the race gets underway. Starting down at the back of the grid, we have Roberto Merri making his debut in Formula E, and Lucas Di Grassi, a champion, alongside him on the back row of the grid. Jake Hughes and David Beckman, who's also making his debut this weekend. He is with Avalanche Andretti. Sergio Sette Camara with Neo 333 and Norman Nato for Nissan. They are on the 9th row of the grid. Sam Bird further down than he would have liked to be in the Jaguar. He's 16th, but there's Antonio Felix da Costa in the Porsche. That's a really good battle between those. Dan Ticktum and Sebastian Buemi are on the 7th row of the grid. As we move forward, Sasha Fenestres in the Nissan and Mitch Evans down in 11th. In fact, both the Kiwis are down there. We've seen them winning races in recent times, but Nick Cassidy 10th. Nico Muller impressively in 9th, and his teammate Robin Freins in 7th place in the Abt Cupra. Whether they've got that race pace, we shall see. René Rast starting in 8th. Then we have Stoffel van Dorn and Eduardo Mortara in the 2nd of the Maseratis. Onto the 2nd row, potential winners Pascal Wehrlein and Jean-Eric Verne, and then up front, pole position for Max Günther with Jake Dennis alongside. So there we are, that's how the grid lines up as we get ready for the short move that they will make down the start-finish straight to their starting positions. But really, this is very, very unpredictable. We're hearing, Karun, that inside line, the left-hand side as we look at it, more dusty, more dirty, more difficult to get a good start from that side.
Yeah, that's right, Ben. Certainly when they started off the day, you can see the dust coming off, and as the racing line has cleared up, that dust has deposited on that right-hand side of the track. So the likes of Jake Dennis, Jean-Eric Verne, Edo Mortara, René Rast, they're all going to be struggling a bit. Few little burnouts there to get some temperature on the top surface of the rear tyres away for the launch.
So here we are then, getting ready for the start. And Max Günther doing that first ever pole position. Let's see how he makes it work. He is in theory on the better part of the track. Sebastian Buemi, a bit further down than he would have liked, down in 13th position. But a very experienced racer. Envision team, they've had such a good season so far. Can they convert it now? Because the two green Envision cars are certainly further down the grid than we would have imagined. Nick Cassidy is the lead of those two green cars that you're looking at, and he is the leader in the championship. So here we are then, pretty much ready to go. Just waiting for the flag from the back there. The lights are coming on. Lights out, Formula E is going Jakarta, and it's a good start from pole man. Max Günther getting in front, and Jake Dennis, as he told us, he thought he might lose that 2nd place to Pascal Wehrlein. Wehrlein's going to try and go around the outside if at all possible. Verne is also potentially going to get into 3rd position there. That was a good start from Jean-Eric Verne as well.
I think actually it was Van Dorn there, Ben. It was Van Dorn who's managed to get also off the clean side of the grid, and he's got himself up into 3rd place. You can see the dust there as the drivers go offline. Robin Freins up in 6th place, so he's managed to hold on, but he's having a lunge there from Edo Mortara.
Yeah, that's all getting a bit tight. The Abt Cupra in there and battling hard as well. And you can see Nick Cassidy in the middle of all that in the green Envision. He's trying to make his way through, but Buemi down the back. You're well spotted down at the back for Buemi. So Max Günther, the poleman, is leading. The Pascal Wehrlein in 2nd place. And we're on board with Buemi as to, I don't know quite what's happened on this opening lap. We'll probably get another look. He's down right at the back of the field now, and there's a lot of side-by-side. That's Jake Hughes just up ahead of him there, and it all gets a bit tight, doesn't it?
Yeah, Buemi stuck there behind Lucas Di Grassi, his rival all the way going back to season 1. But up at the front, Pascal Wehrlein will be somewhat relieved, I think, to have got through the first corner unscathed. He is a driver who needs to get his championship battle back on track.
Amazing that Van Dorn from 6th, as you said, on the grid. That just shows us again that outside line, you get so much better start off that outside line, and Van Dorn going from 6th to 3rd on that early on that first lap. Very impressive indeed. Jake Dennis is therefore down to 4th, having started from the front row of the grid. Then you've got Jean-Eric Vergne, but Robin Frein still holding a good position up in 6th place at this stage. So Cassidy now in 8th place. At least he's gained a little bit from where he was in qualifying. There's Buemi trying to come back through.
Yeah, he's got past Beckman there, but they've been contacted. Beckman's lost his front wing, which has then probably been run over by Lucas Di Grassi. Buemi up into 19th, but I think crucially, Ben, I think for Verline it was important to get ahead of Dennis.
I think I have a back shot.
Yeah, that's not surprising there with that level of contact. So the two drivers up at the front are pushing on. Verline all over the back of Gunther, and this is something we've seen throughout the season, the efficiency of that Porsche powertrain. It's really only been matched, I think, by the Jaguar powertrain.
Yeah, you're saying that absolutely right.
Yes, man, yes. Take attack at box, take attack at box.
Right, yeah, so Buemi's going to have to come into the pits. So it's not a good start. He has gone into attack mode as part of that. By the way, we've got more attack mode in this race than we've seen so far this year. 8 minutes in total. Let's have another look at the start.
Yeah, look at the drivers on the right-hand side. All of them struggling there. And we saw that's Verline on the left. Van Dorn getting straight past Jean-Eric Vergne. Then going around the outside of Jake Dennis, who was a little bit cautious, it has to be said, on the entry into that first corner. And that allowed Van Dorn to go around the outside. But it was crucial for Verline to get ahead of Dennis, I think, because they both have the same Porsche powertrain, so he's got genuine track position there. Further down, I have to say, everyone seemed pretty well behaved there. No real contact, no real dramas as we got through. Looking back from Gunther's car, and he was on that dirty inside part, braked at the right point, kept it nice and calm. You can see Van Dorn there going around the outside of Dennis, having a little look at Verline, but choosing to stay behind. Verline now having a look into turn 1.
Challenge for the lead, and Pascal Verline goes in front, but Gunther not giving up, and he almost touched his rear wheel. Hopefully he hasn't damaged the front of his car as well, but Gunther down into 2nd place. That was a good move by Pascal Verline. Still got Van Dorn in 3rd, and he's with these two. You want to be in that slipstream.
So in recent races, Ben, what we've seen is that the leading cars, they haven't really wanted to lead. You know, there have been a lot of races where we've had this sort of peloton type race where they've tried to stay behind, particularly in the first half of the race, before going out front. Today, though, is different. We've got a race that's going to be 2 laps shorter than the one we have tomorrow, and that means the drivers will be attacking mode. This is a different style of racing to what we've seen in Berlin and in Monaco for the last 3 weekends.
Yeah, Verline not escaping too far. So there is the use of the attack zone, that go into attack mode, and you can see that Stoffel Van Dorn dropped several places in going through that, and he's gone for a 6 minute. So that's interesting because you've got 8 minutes total. You can go for 6 minutes and 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 6 minutes, or you can go for 4 and 4. So he's gone for quite a big chunk straight away.
Yeah, and this will all shake out as the race unfolds. So he's given up some track position, obviously, there. So he's dropped from what was 3rd to 5th. But in theory, now he's going to have extra power and he should be able to make that back up. And 6 minutes is a reasonable amount. They're doing 1 minute 11s here at the moment. So he should get, just under sort of 5 laps, shouldn't he? He should of extra power here.
Yeah, that's right. He's right behind his teammate now, so it's going to be interesting to see whether this will give him that little bit of an advantage that he wants to try and get past his teammate, get back up to that front position. But meanwhile, it's still Pascal Verline who is leading this race for Porsche. Nick Cassidy a bit further down in 8th place, and then further down the order as well, Sam Bird in the Jaguar. And so going into attack mode as well is Pascal Verline.
Yeah, Verline, that was good for Verline because he went for attack mode but didn't lose a place. So what he would have done is pushed quite hard on that first part of the lap, and you can see fastest lap for him there. So that's what I'm saying, he pushed quite hard to make a gap to Jake Dennis and make sure he came out crucially in front, as we see a little look there by Edo Mortara from Jean-Eric Vergne, but Van Dorn seems to have cleared both of them, so Van Dorn has made up the places.
We need 0.6. We need 0.6 to lose only one position.
Okay, so that's the gap that the engineers have worked out. When you go to attack mode, that's what I was saying. With Verline, he must have made, say, 0.7 ahead of Dennis to come out in front. So they've now got on the radio to Gunther, which suggests to me Gunther's going to try and get attack mode on this lap. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, because I would think he's got that, and that kind of gap pretty much at the moment that he needs to not lose too many places. So there's our championship leader, 7th place for Nick Cassidy, and he's not using attack mode just yet. And there you go, there is the race leader. So now he drops down to 2nd place, and as you said, he only loses the 1 place. He comes back out ahead of Van Dorn, who has now made up the ground that he went into having lost a couple of places. Jake Dennis is also in attack mode, isn't he? So yeah, interestingly, he's gone for a slightly shorter section at this stage as well. We haven't seen Cassidy go into attack mode as yet. So some drivers are doing it, some are deciding to hold back a little bit.
So Edo Mortara is the one who's running a completely different strategy here, isn't he? He's not gone for any attack mode yet. So we'll wait and see as the race unfolds what his plan is here. Nick Cassidy, as you said, the championship leader in 7th place, and we've seen this throughout this recent run of races with Cassidy, haven't we, Ben? In Berlin, where he won, in Monaco, where he won, he just bided his time, let the race settle down, waited for people to start using up their energy, and then he attacked. I think it's going to be harder to come through the field today because, as I said, there's a slightly shorter race. So he does need to get on with it. He has made 3 places up from where he started, down in 10th place. So I think he's going to be on a bit of a push sometime soon as we see one of the app cars, Nico Müller, going there.
Yeah, just looking at who's gained and lost, of course. Buemi's the big loser so far. We've seen him have to come into the pits. Jake Hughes made up 4 places from where he started. Of course, that is slightly affected by the fact that some are going into attack mode now. But nonetheless, Jake Hughes has definitely made some progress from where he qualified earlier on today. Whether he can now gain a few more places is something to keep an eye on. It is Pascal Wehrlein who led the championship in the early part, and really for quite a long stint, actually, throughout the season, just losing it to Nick Cassidy just in the last section after Monaco. So Pascal Wehrlein really wanting to get that lead in the championship back if possible here today. He's in a good position so far, but Jake Dennis is playing the game as well, and now he's right up there with Van Dorn.
Yeah, they're not letting Wehrlein get away, are they? You know, Gunther hanging on in there about half a second, 6/10 away, and the top 4 have just edged off about a second from Mortara as Wehrlein goes for his 2nd attack mode and drops down to 3rd place. So that's interesting. They've chosen at Porsche to go early on and get both their attack modes done, which might leave them slightly susceptible to other people towards the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, but he's gone for the long section now, the 6 minute, so he's going to get it all done here, Pascal Wehrlein, so he's got a good chance to use that attack mode now to find his way past. Van Dorn is currently on attack, but he won't be for very long. You can see the clock ticking away, telling us how much they've got the extra power, the extra energy that creates this, they get from the attack mode, and that gives them that little bit more speed.
I wonder if Porsche are thinking about the temperature factor here, because as Nelson was saying on the grid, this is one of the hottest, if not the hottest, race that we've had in Formula E. And that's going to have an effect on the batteries. So you might get to a point towards the end of the race where even if you've got energy available and then you take the attack mode at that stage, if the batteries are too hot, you won't necessarily be able to use that power. So I wonder if Porsche are taking a slightly cautious approach when it comes to temperature.
Yeah, that will affect things here, there's no doubt about it. And we're seeing a few more going into attack mode, and that includes Nick Cassidy now. So that will have dropped him down a little bit. Yeah, he's still down there in 7th place, so he hasn't actually lost too much in terms of positions as a result of that. He's got Robin Freins behind him, and Nick Cassidy not going for the long stint just yet in attack mode. Meanwhile, you've got some really close battle up front, which is what we kind of expect from Formula E this year. You get this group of cars all working together. You don't want to lead quite often because you don't want to be the one breaking through the air, using that extra energy through the drag. You want to be just behind and soaking up some of that if possible.
Yeah, it's quite encouraging to see the Stellantis pair of the Maserati from Gunther and the DS Penske of Van Dorn in this fight for the win. We'll see when the energy graphic comes up where everybody stands. But, you know, historically in the season, they haven't been as good on energy as, for example, this guy, Pascal Wehrlein, or the person behind him, Jake Dennis. So this is very encouraging. We've got 4 of the Stellantis cars with that powertrain in the top 6.
They might be trying to increase gap.
So his engineer saying to Wehrlein, just try and push along, don't let them increase the gap for track position there. But yeah, as I said, there's 4 Stellantis cars in the top 6. Is I think the strongest performance we've seen from that powertrain throughout the season.
Yeah, I agree. It looks much stronger than we have seen for a little while, but the race is still got plenty of way to go. We're not quite at 1/3 distance yet. We're on lap 11 out of 36th, and all cars are still running, despite that problem that Buemi had earlier on. We've had no one pull out, retire from this race just yet. And for now, it's still Max Günther, the man who started from pole position, who is leading this race. Stoffel van Dorn running in a good 2nd place. He's had a pretty tough season, the champion from last year, but it hasn't quite worked out for him this year. Let's see whether it is going to be a little bit more his way here today and tomorrow. The 2 races back-to-back here in Jakarta. You're riding on board with Max Günther, and that is Van Dorn chasing him down.
The drivers who haven't made as much progress as I would have expected. Team radio?
Energy is good. 0.2 more than Mitch. 0.1%.
That's interesting there, Ben, isn't it? They've, you know, reeling Nick Cassidy, he's got more energy than Mitch Evans, which is, by the way, in a different team, because Mitch Evans races for the Works Jaguar team. And that just illustrates the collaborative approach between Envision and Jaguar as a customer team. Here are the energy numbers. So what have we got? Günther, Wehrlein a bit down on Dennis. Dennis in the Pouncy with 2% more, but no massive outliers, are there? Apart from Buemi down at the bottom, so he's got no chance to win anyway. But yeah, up at the top, I'd say Van Dorn is the one who, you know, he's got 2% less perhaps than some other people, but they'll recover it. So at the moment, I'd say there's no massive outliers on the energy front.
Yeah, it looks fairly composed across the board at this stage, but Max Günther's doing a good job at this stage as well. Got a decent gap over Pascal Wehrlein. Wehrlein is in attack mode, but the gap has opened up a little bit more, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And sorry, I was just making the point that the Jaguar cars, Bird has made 4 places up, but I feel like he was out of position in qualifying as Günther takes attack mode.
Right.
I'm interested to see if the Jaguars could come through the pack, because they've done that a lot this season. In the second half of the races, they've come through. And, you know, Evans is right in the championship fight, isn't he? He's, you know, he's come off the back of a couple of wins, and he's in, sorry, a couple of podiums, I should say. And he's in 4th in the championship.
Meanwhile, Günther's got to watch out here, because Jake Dennis is getting closer. You're looking back at Jake Dennis with the Andretti and the number 27 car there, right tucked in behind him. So he's got to be a little bit cautious, but Günther's doing a great job so far. He is in attack mode, but having taken that path that you have to take, you lose a bit of track space and time, and you often lose a place or 2.
Looking good on battery, mate. Keep it up.
So Andretti happy with where Dennis is on energy as well. So this leading pair, they are all pushing on, Ben. The lap times, you know, 109.8 for Wehrlein last time round. You know, that is competitive. That is very strong compared to what we've seen in free practice, for example, when they were pushing. So to me, this suggests there's not a lot of energy saving going on. This is fairly close to being a flat-out race, as we see. So the attack mode remaining. Dennis has got 6 minutes, so watch out for him later in the race. He's got more energy, we saw, and therefore he can use that to use, you know, that 6 minutes of extra attack mode that he's got, you know, compared to the 3 people around him.
Yeah, as long as he's in a group that's far enough, he's not going to lose too many places. So let's see, Wehrlein is our race leader. As you say, it is more of a sprint race today. This is what we were sort of expecting, that tomorrow's race, 2 laps longer, will be a different story. You will have to save more energy, but of course they'll be learning huge amounts by doing this race here today. But Jake Dennis in a very strong position right now. When will he go to attack mode? Is it going to be an element that he's thinking about right now, or are they going to hold on a little bit longer? Wehrlein, who's had such a strong start to the season, and then finding himself just dropping back a little bit, finding himself some 20 points behind Nick Cassidy coming into this race, but very strongly placed for now.
Dennis is pushing hard here. He's quicker than Günther, I think, and he's getting a little bit boxed in he needs to clear Gunther because soon.
Last stop, 2% more than the 2 cars ahead of you, 1% more than Van Dorn.
Yeah, so that's reassuring for him. And I think he does need to clear Gunther here because he doesn't want to let Wehrlein escape. He's in a good position with energy, and if he gets ahead of Gunther, when he gets that final attack mode, he's likely to fall back behind Gunther, but then he'll have 6 minutes to get the 2 cars in front. So I think he does, in the next lap or 2, need to start thinking about getting ahead of that blue Maserati.
Well, he's done a good job so far, and Jake Dennis is definitely one to watch in this race as a potential winner with this top 3 group, showing they've all got sensible pace. They're not all going a bit too wild at this stage, but they are all pushing on. Now, Van Dorn in 4th place, Mortara in the other Maserati in 5th. So again, both Maseratis and both of the DS Penske's with those similar powertrains are running strongly at this stage. Nick Cassidy still down in 7th place. So can the championship leader? He is down at the back of this group now. So he is still part and parcel of it.
Whiskey 1, push for attack, push for attack.
So Jake Dennis does exactly as the team have asked. He goes into attack mode, and that puts him down into 4th position now. That he has only lost a place, and Jake Dennis is still very much in the fight here in Jakarta.
So taking that attack mode for Jake Dennis.
And yeah, it was an interesting one to do there, wasn't it? Just to take that then.
Yeah, the attack mode there, I was just looking at the time, sorry, but it was about 1.5 seconds is what he lost. So, you know, early in the race, we heard one of the engineers saying you need 0.7 of a gap. Clearly, maybe it's because of the dust on that part of the track, or you know, just their estimates weren't quite right. But he lost 1.5 seconds there, taking the attack mode. So that's something to keep in mind for not just today, but also for the race tomorrow.
Cassidy up to 6th place now because Mortara has gone back into attack mode, and that has dropped him a place. But I think Cassidy still has more attack mode to use, doesn't he? So we will see him have to lose a little bit of space at some points here. Behind them, we've still got Mitch Evans. Mitch Evans down in 8th place, and Sam Bird down in 10th. Not looking so strong for Jaguar. It's a funny shift, this.
Evans 4.2.
Just a bit of detail from the team to him to give an idea on what to think. Oh, look at this. There's Jake Dennis. Jake Dennis battling with Van Dorn side by side and wheel to wheel virtually, and he just gets through. So Jake Dennis and Van Dorn, that looks as though it was almost going to end in tears, but they've made it through okay.
Yeah, the rear of the car was squirming around there under braking, but he got it all stopped under control on the dusty side of the track. He's got to make hay here, Jake Dennis. He's got 4 minutes of attack mode with extra power. We know he's got more energy. We heard his engineers giving him that reassurance, giving him the confidence that he can push an attack. And he's got 4 minutes to try and get up close behind Gunther and Wehrlein. There are the numbers. Same as Gunther, 1% more than Wehrlein at the moment.
Wehrlein still in front for now. So lap 17 out of 36. We're virtually at the half-distance mark here. Pascal Wehrlein, who started on the 2nd row of the grid, in control right at this stage, but it's still a long way to go. Gunther in 2nd place, the man who was on pole position. Jake Dennis in 3rd position. He is in attack mode at this stage. He's got a little bit of a gap over Stoffel Van Dorn after a fairly abrasive maneuver. Let's just have a look at how this went.
Yeah, watch the rear of the car here. So he pulls out to the inside. There, he starts to squirm around, but just gets it calmed down in time for the apex. Van Dorn gave him just about enough room. Good, clean, fair driving from both drivers there, as Dennis up into 3rd place, and he's now 1.5 seconds off Max Gunther.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a good move in the end. When we first saw it, it looked like it had all been a bit too difficult, but actually he dealt with it very well. Both drivers sorted it, gave each other space, and they're still on the way. So Jake Dennis now in 3rd place, but Nick Cassidy, as we have seen so many times in Formula E, is beginning to make his way up the order. You're on board with the championship leader. We are at half distance now, and this is an opportunity for Cassidy to try and gain some more places. So he's up behind Jean-Eric Verne, and he and Verne have had some good battles already this year. it has been close between them on a couple of occasions. And of course, when Verne won earlier this year, he held off Cassidy in the closing stages, didn't he? But right now, they're not fighting for the win, but they are fighting closely.
Problem is, Verne is the hardest person in Formula E to overtake. He is extraordinarily good at defensive driving. He knows where to place the car in a very fair way, but in a very smart way. And you know, this is why he's the series' only double champion, isn't he? So, you know, I think back to that race you mentioned in India, Ben, where they were fighting for the win. And Jeff started the last lap with 1% energy. Cassidy had 4, and Jeff still held him off. So this is going to be a challenge for Nick. But listen, I think he's got a better powertrain in terms of energy efficiency under him. Right, so he's basically, they're giving him the gap to Edo Mortara, 1.4 seconds. So yeah, nothing major to read into that one. Right, Cassidy now all over the back of Jean-Eric Verne. He's in the slipstream. He's going to get some sort of benefit here off the toe, although Verne himself getting something from Van Dorn. Cassidy's having a look.
He's down the inside. Oh! Contact between the two. He's nearly spun it. He's surely going to lose a place, does he? No. I'm surprised that Mortara wasn't close enough to get alongside him there. And amazingly, it looks as though there's no actual damage done on either car.
The front wing looks okay, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't see it flapping around yet. But wow, there's Leon Price, the team manager at Envision Racing there. Sylvain Philippi, the team boss, having a look as well. But yeah, the front wing looks okay. He seems to have got away with it, Ben, which is very, very lucky. He came from a long way back. I did look at it and think that was quite ambitious there.
Yeah, it's not fair. Where was I meant to go?
Let's have another look at it then, Karen. Let's see. It is a long way back, isn't it, from where he comes?
Yeah,
He just turned in on me.
He's come from a long, long way back there. And okay, I suppose he's trying to say Jeff should have given him a bit more room because he was halfway alongside, but that was a big, big lunge. And meanwhile, we missed this earlier. Jake Dennis got ahead of Max Günther there.
Just turned in on me.
Yeah, of course Nick is going to complain about him turning in, but look, he's coming from quite some way back. And okay, he's gone for the lunge, and you could argue he maybe deserved half a car's width more space, but I think when Nick watches that back, he'll probably realize, okay, it was a bit of an ambitious lunge. And in the end, everyone got away with it. I'm glad nobody ended up spinning out, and the battle will resume soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we've still got the battle up front too. Pascal Wehrlein is leading, but Jake Dennis has made that move on Günther, as we saw a moment ago. So he's now in solid second place. And the top three have got a little bit of a gap over Stoffel Van Dorn. Or is Van Dorn just saving up a little bit more?
Okay, Dennis is up on energy a little bit to you. Checking last numbers.
Yeah, so that to me is a slightly different approach, isn't it? Because it seems like between Envision and Jaguar, there's like a live update of numbers between those 4 cars. They're constantly watching each other's data. Whereas from Porsche and Andretti, it's a bit like, well, it's when we last saw the numbers, which is what we saw on the TV graphics. So a less collaborative approach, perhaps, when it comes to the actual racing and the way they're sharing information.
For now, Pascal Wehrlein still has this advantage, but can he hold off Jake Dennis? Remember that they both have Porsche power, so there's not much difference in that respect between the machines, but they are run by different teams. But they do work together to a certain extent on that.
Last I saw 2% more than Pascal.
Just looking at some of the recent results of Pascal Wehrlein, bottom right there, and you can see it's been a bit of a tougher time in the latter part of the year. It started off extremely well, particularly those 2 wins in Diriyah, but Monaco 10th place, Berlin 6th and 7th, non-finish in Cape Town, no podium since Diriyah. So, you know, it hasn't been easy for him, but he's still up there in the points, and with the fact that Cassidy is down in 6th place, the points gap is going to be much, much closer if they finish like this. But we've still got several laps to go. There's no way of predicting this yet.
Yeah, Cassidy about 8 tenths behind Jean-Eric Verne now, so he has dropped back a little bit. And it is not close. He's not really closing. You know, last time round, Cassidy only a tenth quicker than Verne. So that gap and that little battle seems to settle. This battle for the lead, though, is far from settled by Dukan. Jake Dennis all over the back of Pascal Wehrlein. 13 laps to go. Gunther's not out of this though. Gunther, you know, I think this could be a little window here where he's just sitting back in the slipstream, trying to save a bit of energy. We know they haven't quite got the same efficiency, so he might need to just save a bit of energy before attacking the end.
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes, because Pascal Wehrlein is still holding off, but Jake Dennis, let's just listen in.
Okay, we make a move now.
Gunther being told to make a move now. He is in that third position. You're looking at the blue Maserati. He's being told to make a move. We are getting into that stage of the race now where we often see the changes coming.
Yeah, I see. That's what I was saying before. They've clearly got to a point where he is saving our... Oh, here we go. The battle for the lead. And Dennis had a little look. Wehrlein saw him coming, covered the inside, but look at Gunther now going around the outside bend as they head into turn 2.
This is a real chance for Max Gunther to take that second place and be battling more. No, he can't quite do it. Jake Dennis just... But look how it's allowed Stoffel van Dorn to join in. So now we've got a four-way fight up front. And it is Pascal Wehrlein who's actually opened up a tiny little bit of a gap over Jake Dennis. So Wehrlein still has that advantage, but it is mighty close in the group behind. Dennis, it so nearly went wrong for him there, but he's there. Gunther is behind him, and then Van Dorn and Jean-Eric Verne and Cassidy as well. This could go anywhere.
Yeah, it's brought Cassidy right into this fight now, hasn't it? That little battle. I mean, that was really smart and fair racing from Wehrlein. He saw Dennis coming down the inside. He moved across at exactly the right moment, didn't give Dennis the opportunity, and all of a sudden that left Dennis vulnerable to attack Gunther, and now Wehrlein has managed to break away just under a second, so a little bit of breathing space, but it won't last for long.
No, not for very long at all. So can Pascal Wehrlein hold on here? He's looking for another victory to add to his tally from earlier in the season and really pick it all back up again. He's had 2 wins, he's had 3 podiums, but it was a while ago, as we mentioned. And now he's got that little bit of an edge, that little bit of a gap. Further down the order, you've got people like Mitch Evans down in 8th place, Sam Bird in 9th position. And further down, we've got a couple of rookies, new drivers coming in. Roberto Meri, he's down towards the back, down in 21st place. And David Beckman's down towards the back as well. But here we are, Nick Cassidy having a little look up the inside again with Jean-Eric Verne. It didn't quite come off. He certainly wasn't close enough, and this time he decided not to lunge down the inside.
We've got 6 different teams in the top 8 at the moment. Cassidy's going for his final attack mode. Right, so he's now got 6 minutes, a big chunk of extra power. He has lost a place, though, to Edo Mortara, so he's going to have to clear that pretty quickly before he can start to attack Jean-Eric Verne. So, see the gap there, and he's going to try and make it up on the next 5.5 minutes.
Race being led by Pascal Wehrlein. We're on lap 26 out of 36. Jake Dennis fighting hard in 2nd place. Max Gunther a part of that group as well in the Maserati. There you just see the blue Maserati being chased by the 2 DS Penske's, and then the Envision, the green and black of Nick Cassidy. Now, he has gone into that attack mode, but he's got to use it efficiently and quickly if he's going to try and find a way past Edo Mortara and get back into that lead group once again. There you can see there's a bit more of a gap behind this group. So this group, really, you've got to say the winner's going to come from here.
Yeah, 5.5 seconds the gap to Evans behind, and that's a massive gap there that's fallen back. We haven't had any safety cars in this race, which I have to say in a Formula E race is pretty unusual not to have any virtual safety cars or safety cars. And we see Sam Bird taking his attack mode there. Roberto Meri down in 21st is also taking his. Not a great day for Mahindra, is it? You know, we know Boemi had a puncture and an issue early on, and he's at the back. But otherwise, the 2 Mahindra cars with David Beckman, the rookie, down in the back. So not a good day for them. But up at the front, though, battle for the lead starting to tighten up as we see Cassidy 4 minutes to go, and he's up behind Mortara.
Looking at the energy levels there, now Wehrlein's been leading for quite a long time, and the drivers behind him generally have a bit more energy. Van Dorn about the same, but we can see from that Jake Dennis and Max Gunther both have a little more energy available to them.
Yeah, the key, I think, is for Porsche and Wehrlein to recognize, okay, we've got 26% to go. We've got 8.5 laps to go. 9, yeah, we're just coming up to that point, aren't we? You know, can we go flat out? Can we go completely flat out without having to save? Because then it doesn't matter if other people have more energy. And that was this man, Nick Cassidy's point a couple of races ago, is
Probably still 1% more than Pascal, ISO with Max, and 1% more than the 3 cars behind Max. Energy looking good.
yeah, so they're all within 1%. But that was Cassidy's point in Monaco. He said, look, I knew I had enough to get to the end to go flat out. So I did. And I went to the front and I went for it. And everyone else left some energy on the table. So, you know, maybe that's the game Wehrlein and Porsche are playing here.
Yeah, might be working for them very well. And interestingly, Cassidy behind Mortara, he's going through this attack mode at this stage, but he's not actually getting past. Now, if it finishes as it is now, you're looking at the Live Drivers' Championship on the board there, it would end with this race. If Wehrlein wins and the positions are the same, he would be within 2 points of Cassidy in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Jake Dennis would be still up there in 3rd place. Evans would be losing out a bit, though, because he's down in 8th position currently.
Cassidy's got to get ahead of Mortara now. He can't waste any more time. He's only got 2.5 minutes, so maybe a couple of laps of this extra bit of power. So when they get to start-finish straight, as they're about to do now, coming into turn 18, he's got to make this lap count. Dennis close, but I don't think close enough on this lap to attack into turn 1. Cassidy looks like he's dropped back a bit, Ben, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's in quite the position to have a go. Mortara and team discussing going for fastest lap, but surely also trying to get through. But look how close now. You've got this battle for the lead. You're looking back from the lead Porsche of Pascal Wehrlein straight at Jake Dennis. And once again, very, very, very close to each other. Coming down through this section where overtaking here is difficult, but it's about positioning, getting into the right place for the next part that we're coming to. There is a hairpin coming up soon, where we haven't really seen any moves down at that section here yet today.
Yeah, Gunther's doing a cracking job, I think, as well in 3rd place. You know, that's a very, very strong drive from him. I know he's been at the top of every session so far, both practice sessions, topped the group stage of qualifying, topped the dual stages as well. So he would have been hoping to be at the top even for the race, but even getting a podium, I think, will be a great result for him after what's been a pretty difficult start to the season.
Yeah, no, it would be a very good finish for them. Meanwhile, Van Dorn and Verne, the 2 DS Penske's, they're running in 4th and 5th. They have dropped back a little bit ahead of Edo Mortara and Nick Cassidy, who has, as you would say, got a little bit stuck there, as Pascal Wehrlein controlling the pace, lifting where he knows he can lift, save energy, and nobody can come past him, and then getting back on the throttle, get that energy back through onto the tarmac, and he's doing all right. 1% more, though, still for Jake Dennis and for Max Günther. Can they make that work or not? It doesn't always work.
I think Evans has had a poor lap here. I wonder if Evans tried to get attack mode and missed the loop or something, because he's had a poor lap and has dropped back. He's now 8.5 seconds behind Cassidy. He lost 2 seconds on that last lap.
Well, Pascal Wehrlein still very much in control here, but can he keep it together? Not much closer this time, but actually in a good tow here for Jake Dennis as he comes down towards turn 1. This is a tricky corner because there's a lot of space on the way in. Tightens up on exit. We've already seen some minor incidents. Nick Cassidy so nearly lost it down here a little bit earlier. He's still down in that 7th position. It is Pascal Wehrlein who is on target to take what would be his 3rd win of the season. Jake Dennis is looking for his 2nd win, having won the season opener in Mexico. And Günther behind is still a part of this. He's been so impressive here all weekend. His best finish has been a 3rd place so far this year, just the 1 podium. So looking as though he's going to get that at least from this first race in Jakarta, with another race coming up tomorrow. But whether he's going to be able to go, and whether Jake Dennis and Wehrlein are going to make contact, that could give Günther a big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a race on here for the final five laps. I think the win is going to come from these three. I think the two DS Penske's are now too far back to mount a challenge. There was a point where we had a 6-car train up at the front, but these top three have firmly broken away. You see the speeds as they head down, 225k nearly for Gunther in that slipstream, and you can see the difference between him and Verline, 8 kilometers an hour there down the straight. That's the slipstream effect that we're seeing.
Closing up always through that turn 1, 2, 3 section, but once you get into that part, there's not really an opportunity to overtake when you're coming up this back stretch into some tighter and then sweeping corners on the exit. Let's just see what's been going on here. Oh, René Rast getting it all a little bit wrong. Thankfully, not actually making contact either with cars or with the barrier, and we still haven't had a yellow flag. Up front, Pascal Wehrlein just holding Jake Dennis from second place, and Gunther in third place. You can see how close. It was a close battle here last year when Formula E came here for the first time. The top 3 cars were covered by less than a second. I think we might end up with a finish a little bit like that again.
Yeah, that's right. There is only 0.9 of a second between the top 3 at the moment as they come across the line. There is Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche into turn 1. Gunther, well, how does Gunther play this, Ben? I wonder, because, you know, that's really, Dennis is in the most difficult position. He wants to attack Wehrlein, but he also doesn't want to put himself at risk of being overtaken by Gunther. So he is, you know, the meat in the sandwich is in a very tricky position here.
Top speeds, interestingly, Dan Ticktum has got the top of that list, as you can see, 242.3 kilometers per hour. But quite a lot of those guys with the top speeds, apart from Jake Dennis, are not actually up in this group, but Jake obviously is in second place, so maybe that could still help him. We shall wait and see. We're on lap 33 out of 36 now. We are very much getting into the closing stages. Behind that lead group, you've still got Van Dorn, Verne, Mortara and Cassidy, and then another gap back to the likes of Mitch Evans and Sam Bird. So the two Jaguar teammates are running one behind the other, but they're down in 8th and 9th places, not scoring the sort of points that they would like. And Da Costa, who is Pascal Wehrlein's teammate, he's down in 10th place. So no added laps. We've had no safety car periods, no yellow flags even, I don't think. We've had just that one spin from René Rast. We had some other little tiny moments, but amazingly, it hasn't gone wrong. So we're a normal race distance. We're going to be 36 laps today.
2% difference there, Ben, between Wehrlein and Dennis. So that is going to be encouraging. But the point is, they've all got loads of energy. You know, that's what I was saying before. For Wehrlein, it doesn't matter what it was relative to other people.
Something's happened to Evans.
Evans, yes. There's a yellow flag at turn 1. Something's happened to him down at turn 1. But, yeah, that's the point. You know, Wehrlein probably knew it doesn't matter if I've got less than other people. As long as I have enough to go flat out to the end of the race, that's fine. And he has. Look, he's got 6% left to just do the final couple of laps. There is Evans.
Essential at T1, no added laps.
No added laps. We've already seen that. So although we have the first yellows of this race, let's find out what happened here, Corinne.
Oh, with his own teammate.
Not again.
That's
not
the
again.
Second time.
Oh, and it was Sam Bird who hit Evans. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
That has happened already this year, and Sam felt awful about it. That was a slightly different one. It almost looked like confusion, didn't it?
Yeah, I think...
Attention all teams, attention all teams. We have car drivers left in the runoff of turn 1.
Wow. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that was Scott Elkins, the race director, saying that there's just giving everyone advice that there's a car off on the outside, which they've already seen. Evans just staying in the barrier. Looks like they're not going to put the safety car out. There's quite a big, wide runoff area. What that has done, though, unless they get Evans out of the way quickly, that has taken away, Ben, the best overtaking spot on track. And the yellow flag has cleared, so that's great news. That's great news for the race and this battle. James Barclay, understandably, not happy. I mean, in India, they were battling, I think, for 4th place at the time when Bird ran into the back of Evans and, you know, completely T-boned him. And this occasion, they were battling for 8th, but it's still points. And, you know, as a team, they're fighting for team championship.
The speed difference. I'm so sorry.
Apologies.
Here we go.
Sam Bird So we're into the final lap, and this is it then. This is the last opportunity for Jake Dennis to try and find a way past Pascal Wehrlein. 1 and 2 at the moment, with Günther dropping away a little bit in third place. I have to say, I don't think he's going to be a part of it, but can Jake Dennis find something special on this last lap? Car's bouncing a little bit over that section. It is still quite bouncy up there, but Pascal Wehrlein so far has controlled every element of this race.
Yeah, he really has. He's placed the car on all the right paths to be defensive. We've got a yellow at turn 3. Somebody might have gone off, but it's cleared off. Right, turn 13. This is Dennis's best and last opportunity, as you think.
Sam Bird who's dropped out now, so both the Jaguars in trouble in this race. We've got a yellow flag, as you say, but is it going to change? Pascal Wehrlein, I think he can hold on here. We're into the final sections before coming on to the start-finish straight, and Jake Dennis surely is not going to quite manage to do it. Good exit out of the last corner, and there's no doubt about it. Pascal Wehrlein takes victory in Jakarta and takes his 3rd win of the season after a tough time recently. And that puts the championship battle right up together again with Nick Cassidy. Jake Dennis, superb 2nd place, being consistent, getting on the podiums once again. And he hoped he would have a chance to get past. It didn't quite happen, but nonetheless, really important points for them. Pascal Wehrlein, the race winner here in Jakarta. Well, is he going to be able to do a double-header like he did last time earlier in the year?
Pascal, it's Karun. Can you hear me down there? Congratulations, great race. Try again. Pascal, I don't know if you can hear us, but that was a brilliant defensive drive there. You should be really happy with that. Well, maybe he's not hearing us down there, but I'm sure Radzi and the gang will grab him when he gets out of the car afterwards.
Yes, I'm sure we will hear plenty, but well done. Many congratulations for a victory for Pascal Wehrlein. The winning margin, 0.477 of a second, so under half a second, and to 3rd place, 1.4 seconds. So a slightly bigger gap, funnily enough, than last year with the top 3. But again, like last year, the top 3 did make a break. There is an under investigation for Sacha Fenestrez for overpower, but he did finish down in 16th place, so that doesn't really affect anything in terms of point scoring here today. And yeah, Pascal Wehrlein is the man who has come home with the 25 points score there. Very well achieved for him, and a vital time really in this championship battle after going through a tough time recently and not scoring the sort of points he had been hoping to. The 28-year-old German, who is in his 58th Formula E race, and he led from round 3 to round 8, but for Jaguar, oh my goodness, the
what
contact between them. Listen in a little bit.
Yeah, I was just trying to listen in and see if, you know, they're trying to understand what's happened. Did he brake early, or did Sam sort of misjudge it from behind? And, you know, we heard Sam on the radio apologizing, saying there's a big difference of speed there. So, yeah, unfortunate for them, and really for Jaguar. You know, they're well in contention for the team's championship, aren't they? And that's going to be pretty damaging for them. But listen, on to more positive things. Pascal Wehrlein and Porsche back in the fight, and on a day where Da Costa also scored just a handful of points there, down in 8th. But the championship battle well and truly on.
Yeah, absolutely. But for Pascal Wehrlein, what a good start to the weekend with these 2 races. Hoping to do it again tomorrow. Congratulations from the Porsche team. And although it didn't work for both drivers so much, with Da Costa down in 8th place, still useful points. At least Da Costa added to the points tally, and Envision had a very difficult time indeed, really. So for Porsche, 2nd in the points coming into this, I think it might well have actually promoted them up. We'll see once we get through all the results. But Pascal Wehrlein, very composed throughout that race, knew he had to battle hard and did everything just right. Let's have a little look. That's when Sam Bird got contact.
That was with Jake Hughes, wasn't it? It all got quite tight with Da Costa and Sam in the first corner, and then Hughes got in the fight as well. And see, we're riding on board here. He tries to do the switchback to come to the inside of Da Costa, and then at this point he's going to get a whack from behind from Jake Hughes. So yeah, it's not been a good sort of 5-6 minutes for Jaguar, has it? Both cars ending up facing the barrier backwards.
Yeah, unfortunately. Mitch Evans was the only driver actually not to finish the race. Sam did come across the line, but he came across the line last. Yeah, really didn't work out for Jaguar here today after they've had some excellent results so far this year, particularly for Mitch Evans. So they'll have to rejig everything a little bit, try and make things better for tomorrow. But for Pascal Wehrlein, it has turned out absolutely perfectly, beating Jake Dennis by under half a second with a lot of pressure for a long time. Max Günther, the man who started on pole and getting another podium this year, that's still going to be a big boost to him. The two DS Penske's next, so Stoffel Van Dorn and Jean-Eric Vergne. Eduardo Mortara in 6th place ahead of Nick Cassidy, Antonio Felix da Costa, Robin Freins and Jake Hughes did get into the points in 10th position. Outside the points, we had Nico Muller and René Rast, Norman Nato and Dan Ticktum. Lucas de Grassi made quite a few places from where he started, but still quite a long way down, under investigation for power. Sasha Fenestres and then David Beckman, making his debut in Formula E. He finished 17th ahead of Sergio Settecamera. Roberto Meri also making his debut, Sebastian Buemi, and then Sam Bird and Mitch Evans in the Jaguars.
Yeah, I actually think that incident was with René Rast and Sam Bird rather than Jake Hughes. So I should apologise to Jake Hughes for suggesting he was in that. But yeah, still, I think that will go to the stewards for a bit of a discussion.
Well, time for these guys to try and cool down a little bit. They will have been very, very hot in there.
He doesn't look happy, Jake, does he?
No.
I think he probably thought that there was a win on the cards for today, and you know, although second place is a good result considering his recent run of form. Let's try and listen in.
Yeah, because you had a bad one, so I thought I would be fine. Like that was. Yeah, and then he came past me like a rocket ship, and so I just stopped him.
Talking about the start there, weren't they, I think?
Yeah. Well, it's still a good result.
Yeah,
and I think they'll be happy with that.
in a row.
Yeah, yeah. So it does work for them, there's no doubt. And for Max Günther too, well done to him after doing such a great job in the practice and qualifying sessions, and to come home with that 3rd place. You can see he's looking pretty happy about that, pretty satisfied, and that will give him a good little boost in terms of points in the championship. A little way down the field, down in 12th place in the points coming into this race, but a good chance to make a little bit of a boost up. And because the car's working so well here, of course, they haven't got an evening where they can go and celebrate too much, even though they've scored podiums. They've got to have an evening of thinking again, how can we make the car even better? Is there another chance for us to do more tomorrow? All teams will be thinking that, even Porsche with Pascal Wehrlein, because they would love to have had a 1-2. They didn't get that. But this is where the points are now, and just look how much closer it is. From a 20-point gap, it's now come down to a 2-point gap between Nick Cassidy and Pascal Wehrlein. Jake Dennis, though, is still very much in that fight up front. Jean-Eric Vergne scored well today. Mitch Evans did not. So he's down in 5th place, and that is going to be painful to him. Antonio Felix da Costa not scoring the sort of points he was hoping to do either, and that is difficult. Stoffel Van Dorn, though, that's boosted him a little bit up the order, up into 12th position, and of course, further down the order as well, some of the drivers that haven't had a particularly good time. Eduardo Mortara scoring some useful points here today. So let's go down and hear from the drivers.
Pascal Wehrlein, race winner today. Well managed. Congratulations. How does it feel?
Yeah, thank you. It feels awesome, obviously. Yeah, very good race. Already qualifying was much better than the previous races, and yeah, thanks a lot to the team. I mean, the car was awesome today. I was leading almost the whole race, so it was not so easy on energy for me, and I knew that the guys behind had a little bit more, and also driving in the slipstream the whole time helps. But yeah, I think defended well, and yeah, happy to be back on top. The team definitely deserves it, and yeah, looking forward to tomorrow now.
So coming off the back of some disappointing results, or as far back as Diriyah to now, this must feel like a real weight off.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the last couple of races, we were not where we wanted to be, and yeah, definitely also not scored the points we wanted, and qualifying was a big issue for us. And yeah, today with P3, we qualified in the best position so far this season. So yeah, big turnaround for us in the last couple of weeks. And like I said, thanks a lot to the team for all the hard work. Still a long way to go.
Congratulations, enjoy the celebrations.
So for Pascal Wehrlein, it has certainly worked out extremely well. The second row start converted into a race victory, battling hard, but making no mistakes at all. Using the attack mode, obviously working hard, trying to use that full 8-minute attack mode that was part of this race. Slightly unusual, first time we've seen that this year, but it did look as though attack mode did not necessarily mean overtaking straight away. And for the checker flag came out, it was Pascal Wehrlein. And the delight down in the Porsche garage, fantastic to see after they've been through a little bit of a blank patch. Not too bad, he's been scoring some points, but not quite where he wanted. Let's go back down.
Third podium in a row, but I'm getting a sense that you might not be over the moon about that.
Nah, I'm pretty annoyed, to be honest. You know, obviously having a good season if you're annoyed with second, but I don't know. Obviously the start lost me the race ultimately. We had way too much wheel spin on the dust and dropped back to fourth. And then the manoeuvre with Pascal was ridiculous. I had to hit so much pressure to avoid hitting the back of him. Yeah, I don't know how he got away with that, to be honest. It's ridiculous. So the other two guys did it perfectly. They left just enough space for one car, which is the rule. And then Pascal just completely like swerved all up to the wall, and then I had to slam on the brakes halfway down the straight. So he'd already committed to lifting, and at that point you have to leave space, and he didn't. So yeah, but we can't protest against them because they also have a Porsche powertrain. So yeah, a bit ridiculous.
Solid points nonetheless, and the chance for more tomorrow. Would you change anything for tomorrow's race?
Start on the clean side of the grid. Qualifying is super important. I actually didn't expect the race to go like that. It was pretty much flat out from the start. So yeah, we have a really quick qualifying car. I don't think quite as quick as Max is, but ultimately if we can start on the front two rows, we can obviously win the race tomorrow. But yeah, thankful for the team. You know, 18 points is huge. We beat some of our main rivals, and yeah, we go again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jake.
Well, that was spicy.
So some of the highlights that went on there, it was all a bit tight at stages, but it was interesting to hear from Jake Dennis that he wasn't at all happy about Pascal.
Yeah, it's quite a punchy, spicy interview there, and you know, good to hear a driver speaking his mind. But I think what he was talking about was the move, which I remember doing commentary thinking it was quite fair of Pascal to have moved across at that moment. Clearly Jake from the cockpit saw differently from us at the helicopter.
Let's go and hear from Max Günther.
Maximilian Günther, another podium. How does it feel to be up there, equaling the best results so far this season?
I'm happy. You know, for sure you always want to win, you know, as a racing driver. When you start from pole, you want to win. We were leading for a few laps, but yeah, we just didn't have enough to beat the two Porsche guys in front of me. They did a fantastic job. Congratulations to Jake and to Pascal. Say I had a few like small issues. The car not as perfect as it was the rest of the weekend, but still, you know, a good race car underneath me, and yeah, happy with what we achieved today or this weekend. You know, fantastic to be on the podium again. It was the maximum today, and yeah, we tried to keep improving.
Good points, and you get to do it all again. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you very much.
So good work done and very useful points. Third place for Max Günther, having started from that pole. So just looking down, it's we've got an interesting podium to celebrate here today, and a few people, of course, who won't be quite so happy with the result today, but looking forward to tomorrow and hoping that they can get something a little better out of the bag.
Yeah, Robin Freins, I think, deserves a mention. We sort of, you know, didn't get a chance to really see him on track or talk about him, but that's a really good result for him. He's come back from injury, and that's his first point in a race so far this year.
So let's have a look at driver's room. Yeah, drivers getting together. We'll have more of this coming up in a little while.
Very on the limit. I didn't see it. I told you very late. Ah, yeah?
Mine was over there.
Yeah, you went. Oh, because you heard me when you... Yeah, if you didn't open, we would have touched.
Always fun seeing the drivers getting together there. Let's go back down and join up with Radzi.
What a race that was. So we're currently stood, just as you can see, the stage when the podium celebrations take place. We'll be the first to hand over to them. But lads, once again, Formula E has delivered. Pascal Wehrlein, he is back now, just 2 points separating him and Nick Cassidy. What a defensive performance from him.
An amazing job. He kept it cool. He knew he had less energy, but he wanted to take the risk of staying in the front, grabbing, being like the punch in the hole of the wind. He knew that the cars behind him were going to be more efficient because they kept on his toe. But he kept strong, kept in the front, he defended, he knew he had enough energy, calculated perfectly till the end of the race, and ended up winning. So the Porsche powertrain showed a lot of efficiency, showed a lot of speed, P1, P2. I don't think the Maserati had much for him. I mean, Max was trying to hang on with the two cars, but he didn't seem to challenge them. He didn't seem to have the speed to really try to challenge him for the win. So good job for the Porsche powertrains. Dennis obviously not too happy, but a good result for him, and it's good. It's great for Pascal. He got very lucky that Nick didn't come back. Jaguar powertrain didn't seem to have that much efficiency, you know, just to challenge the race. So yeah, overall, a good race. Tomorrow was 2 more laps. I think it's going to be a whole different ball game, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Tomorrow is going to be exciting, but in terms of reflecting on today, Kelvin van der Linde, obviously you can see Apta Cupra, very proud to be part of their team. Can we talk about that final lap? Because things could have changed, but Pascal was so defensively responsible, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, look, we knew from the beginning of the race it was going to pretty much sort itself out in the first 10 laps, and then the guys were pretty much flat out, so it makes overtaking so difficult. We obviously had the yellow flag at the end of the race in turn 1, so it was very difficult for the guys to do anything. I really thought that the front two something was going to happen again. Actually, Gunther would have been able to profit from that, but Pascal did a great job. He kept a cool head, showed his experience in Formula E, and yeah, brought it home for Porsche. I think, well, you can only imagine, I mean, what kind of weight is off his shoulders at the moment.
Right, in terms of momentum, we've spoken about the Jag powertrain. We haven't spoken much about the Porsche powertrain, not since the first 5 races, and yet he's delivered when it counts, and Porsche are all about winning.
Yeah, I mean, I think just this track suited them a bit better, you know. I don't know if it was the length of the race, the amount of energy you had to recover, but this was just a race that fitted for the Andretti cars, fitted for the Porsche cars. So it's just, you know, let's see. Tomorrow's going to be a bit different, but I think just because of this head start they had, they're going to be much more confident tomorrow, and I have no doubt that they're going to have good results tomorrow as well and try to extend this gap in the championship.
Kelvin, can we talk about the Stellantis powertrain? So DS and Maserati, they've not been anywhere this season as a unit, and yet we've seen them 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th as a solid unit delivering here. That's so impressive. Something about these conditions has just worked.
It is impressive, I think, especially for Gunther. I think he kept a very cool head today, very mature drive from his side. I think what we always knew is they had a strong car in qualifying, a very fast car, and I think the style of the race today, very flat-out race, suited them probably a bit more. when you have a car that's working well, it's able to manage the tires, keep the tires cool, not overheat the tires. It showed out there today, and also with both DS Penske cars in the top 5, it just shows that the package is working well, and obviously very positive for them because it's a double header. So tomorrow, obviously, also very exciting.
Well put, sir. Well, the elephant in the room is obviously the massive incident that happened between Sam Bird and Mitch Evans. More about that very, very shortly, but not before we hand over for the celebrations. And in terms of the team championship and the drivers' championships as well. This is all about Jakarta, and it's all about good vibes.
So here we are getting into the podium celebrations now, and what a good day it is for Porsche.
Kyle Wilson-Clark there, Pascal Wehrlein's race engineer. Spent many years in the pit wall at Le Mans as well, and has been a part of this Formula E team with Porsche for a while. So yeah, he gets to go on the podium and celebrate with his driver.
Oh, that's lovely to see. And now the drivers get the chance to have this little parade, and congratulations as well as they come down towards the podium. Porsche, some big happy smiley faces for Porsche today. Really has worked very, very well for them. So for third place, the man who started on pole position, Max Günther. And that really is good news for Max, because he's been through a pretty tricky time. Hasn't scored many podiums, only his second podium finish in the past 2 seasons. They've both come in the last 4 races, because Berlin was his other podium finish, Berlin this year. So he's had a couple in the last 4 races, but it's been a while since he's had any at all. So that's good news. And the race, of course, was the only one he didn't actually lead in terms of, he did lead it, but he didn't win it, whereas he won all the other sessions so far this weekend. But he still did a fantastic job, and I think very, very happy to have achieved that podium.
Nice to see Ananda Mikula, the Indonesian racing star, on the podium there. He was a big driving force behind his race. I raced against him back in 2006.
Oh, fantastic. That's lovely to see. So the man who finished in second place, who didn't look quite so happy as a result of the little battle he had with Pascal, Jake Dennis. But Jake Dennis is very much a battler in the championship as well. And these two finishing 1-2 with Porsche power. So different teams. The Avalanche Andretti team is the team that Jake Dennis drives for. And there they are, all to congratulate him as he comes up towards the podium. But the Porsche power is certainly working well in both of those cars. And for the 4th time this season, we've had a 1-2 with similar power units. So that has worked well. Jaguar have done that this year as well. And now Porsche doing it extremely well. So second place going to Jake Dennis. He has the most podium finishes this season, in fact, at 6. So it is all going well. But the man who took the victory is Pascal Wehrlein. And he's very happy. He led a good number of laps in that one. That has put him very close in terms of the championship battle once more. There's the celebration with Porsche. So they have finished 1-2 already this year, Wehrlein and Dennis. In fact, that was in the earlier part of the season where things were going much better for Porsche. But now they've done it again, and they've rejigged the Porsche power going extremely well. So he goes up to the top step, and everybody can celebrate what Pascal Wehrlein has achieved.
Yeah, I mean, they were 1-2 in the opening 3 races of the season, and at that stage it looked like they were going to disappear off into the distance, but the championship battle well and truly on between those 2 drivers. Nick Cassidy, Jean-Eric Burns in that fight as well. Yeah, we got a lot of racing yet to go in this season.
And now the
Certainly
national
have.
anthem of the winning
So it's time for the anthem.
from Germany.
So, good reasons for congratulations there for Pascal Wehrlein.
Congratulations to all our winners.
And to the top three who have made it to the podium here in Jakarta.
The chairman of the
and the winning team, Porsche, on this occasion. So, that trophy is held out by Bambang Susatyo, the chairman of Ikatan Motor Indonesia. Porsche are getting the team trophy on this occasion in Jakarta. And now the man you mentioned, Karu, Ananda Mikula, the vice president of Ikatan Motor Indonesia, he's going to hand out the prize for third place.
There you go. Yeah, he's picked up a few trophies of his own in Asian Racing Championships, and yeah, it's nice to see him doing a lot now for Indonesian motorsport to try and promote lots of new activities in that part of the world.
Yeah, we're giving the trophy to Max Günther. Second place trophy, this is being handed out by Randy Superman. What a great name as well, CEO of Gulavit. And he hands the trophy for second place to Jake Dennis. And then, of course, the big one, the winner's trophy, which is going the way of Pascal Wehrlein. It's being handed over by Mr. Sandiaga Uno, the Minister of Tourism. And it's Pascal Wehrlein who takes the trophy and another victory in the 2023 season. Indeed, it is time to celebrate for everybody after a strong race and an interesting battle all the way through to the checkered flag. Jake Dennis somewhat disappointed that he wasn't quite able to find a way past, but we've got another race coming up tomorrow with slightly different strategies as well, with a longer distance race, and we shall see what works. And the fact that there were so few incidents in this race, it rather makes me worry it's all going to go the other way tomorrow, Karun.
Yeah, that's often the way, isn't it? They've all been pretty well behaved today, and it's a slightly different race tomorrow. You know, 2 laps longer is going to be enough to just make it a bit more sensitive in terms of energy management. But you know, the cream will still rise, Ben, and that's the important part of this championship. You know, we're you know, well into the final stages, and we're seeing the strong teams at the fore every time.
Indeed. So everybody in a pretty much good shape. Thankfully, not too many non-finishers. Mitch Evans, who was a bit of trouble at the end there. But Pascal Wehrlein, Jake Dennis, and Max Günther celebrating the podium.
Gulavit Jakarta E-Prix.
So we will no doubt have some more chats with some of the team guys and find out a little bit more about how all that went, because it is always gonna, they'll always want to try and learn more from it, but for the moment they can celebrate, they can enjoy this moment, make the most of it. And I wonder how Antonio Felix da Costa's feeling. He did score some points, he did finish in 8th place, but it wasn't quite what his teammate achieved on this particular race in Jakarta. But there we go. We shall see what happens when we get into it all tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow when they start again, they'll be starting early morning in local time, going out for another free practice session, going into another qualifying session, all from scratch. So nothing that has been done today in terms of positioning or performance will affect where you start tomorrow. You will start from 0.
Yeah, Porsche will celebrate though. They'll, you know, they've had a 1-2 in terms of their powertrain. They know they've got a good package around this track. It's exactly the same layout tomorrow, with a slightly different race distance, but they will take a lot of confidence from how today unfolded. And yeah, I don't think Pascal will, but I'm sure the rest of them will celebrate with a beer or two tonight.
There's going to be some good photographs for this crew, who have obviously done a very good job. And since the break, since Monaco, they have clearly done some excellent work, whether it's sim work, which it often is, software work, because you're not allowed to modify these cars. They're very restricted in terms of what changes you can make. Mechanically, you can't change anything. Software-wise, you can, and presumably they've done some good research and come up with some good ideas on that. Or have they just repeated what they did earlier in the year, because they were so quick early on, but they just seemed to lose that, didn't they, a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, but look, I think it's still open, isn't it? Dennis is in the fight, Günther's in the fight. I think there's a few players in tomorrow's battle.
Oh, it's great stuff. So, Pascal Wehrlein enjoying the victory. And everybody here, it's nice to see a good crowd here in Jakarta, up on this northern side of Jakarta, right up by the beaches. This is the Angko Beach, as it's called, part of next to the Beach City International Stadium in this part as well. It is an area where you get a lot of sort of theme parks and marketplaces and marinas up here as well. It does get crowded with local tourists at weekends, opportunities to go out on the ferries as well to the islands in this part of Indonesia. Do a bit of diving and snorkeling and some water sports up here.
Yeah,
it's a pretty popular area.
I hear our colleague Oliver Askew is leading. He's like a tour guide, leading a whole band of people away from the race here. So yeah, I'm sure he'll have lots of stories when we see him next.
I'm sure we will. That'll be great to see. A lovely part of the world. And even though it's super hot, it doesn't seem to have affected anybody too much. Everybody's got through today well. And the Porsche Power 1-2 being mixed up together there in that celebration with the Avalanche Andretti team makes a lot of sense. So, time for these guys to make their way back, but for Pascal Wehrlein, a few more photographs. They're always going to be good to enjoy with team members.
Well, that there is the man who's produced magic here in Jakarta. It's been hot, it's been humid, but it is Porsche's Pascal Wehrlein that's managed to win the Jakarta E-Prix in Season 9. Superb performance, but if you are just joining us and you're thinking, what on earth has taken place? Why is Mitch Evans not finished the race? Well, the unthinkable happened. Lightning struck twice here in Jakarta. We saw it in Hyderabad, we're now seeing it again. Sam Bird took out Mitch Evans. Kelvin, wow.
Yeah, I'm just as shocked as you boys are. I think it was a very difficult moment. You heard him on the radio, he immediately apologized. He knew it was not ideal what happened. You saw James Barkley's reaction in the box. I think it's going to be a lot to digest heads over the next few hours, but obviously the last thing you want to happen in a team, and for the second time this season, obviously makes it not a lot easier.
We're going to hear from James Barkley very shortly. In terms of yourself, you're connected to Jaguar. Very, very disappointing that Mitch Evans was in the championship hunt. Maybe he still is, but he's out of that sort of magical now top 3.
I'm sure he still is in the hunt. I'm sure they're going to recover a little bit. But here we have the replay. I mean, I think Sam was running a little bit too close, taking a little bit too much risks, and unfortunately touched Mitch over there. Now, I mean, they're still going to be strong, but it's these little points that count, It's the points they lost in Hyderabad, the points that they lost over here now. I mean, when you add up these little mistakes, that's the difference of winning a championship and losing a championship, I
have to say, Mitch was my favourite to possibly go on and win this race. Now, the last time it happened, James Barkley did something special. He gathered the team and said, we win together, we lose together. I'll be mesmerised to find out what he does this time, because the unthinkable has happened, and James Barkley is with Saunders.
So I'm here with Jaguar TCS team principal James Barkley. Now I can imagine after India you didn't expect something like this to be happening again. What's the feeling? What's the vibe in the team?
Yeah, obviously not a great end to the day. I think if we look at the race though, we could actually put both cars into points, which is our goal today. We didn't quite have that lead group pace, and they pulled away early on and created that gap. So I think where we were was 2 strong points. Sam made up 7 places. Mitch was in really strong points. So. Yes, I mean, there's nothing else really more to say than it's not the ideal end to the race. So we'll manage that here internally. But yeah, it's the positive side. The car pace is good to kind of be able to get ourselves into the points. But we have sadly let a few points go there today.
Have Sam and Mitch spoken with each other since getting out of the car?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, we managed that straight away, and we just need to focus forward now. There's no point looking back. But for sure, we need to ensure that we don't let that happen.
I guess the added bonus is that, unlike India, we have another race tomorrow to make redemption possible.
Yeah, exactly. We've learned a lot from the race today. I think that shorter race didn't really deliver great racing. It was pretty much flat out for everyone, to be honest. So, but the longer race tomorrow, I think we'll be back to a lot more overtaking, I'm sure, and a bit more on the energy management side. So definitely more to think about, both from a car setup point of view, but also the energy management. So it's going to be a tough race, that 2 laps longer, but I think it'll definitely spice it up as well. So yeah, we're hungry to go and restart. After a day like today, you just want to get back into free practice 3 quali and go racing again.
Well, certainly as a team principal, they've kept you on your toes this year and your heartbeat up, I can imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I like it boring, ideally if possible. So that's the goal of every team principal, just to be up front and have a boring race. But it isn't always possible. And it's times like this you just need to bring the group together and look at the positives. And we have some really good positives. We've been incredibly fast this season. We're building. Days like today happen. That's just the reality. You can't win every day in sports. So we reset and we go again tomorrow.
Thank you, James.
Thanks.
So just to go into more detail on what I'd say the most dramatic part of this race, Sam Bird running into the back of his teammate for the second time this year, heading into turn 1. In my opinion, had no intentions to overtake Mitch Evans here. Yeah, you could see him just possibly outbrake himself. You know, we'll see his onboard now. And I want to pause it for a moment. I'll just go back a bit. I want to pause it here. He has his hand on what I think is the radio button, so maybe distracted and possibly missed his braking point heading into turn 1 here. And yeah, you see maybe a target fixation, you know, so focused on the gearbox of his teammate, and just the slightest of hits, you see his hand go up. I cannot imagine how disappointed Sam Bird feels and how sorry he feels to his team. So definitely a tragic event here for the Jaguar cars. The Porsche powertrains, you know, fighting these guys in the championship, had a fantastic day today, kind of turned their season around. And yeah, we're going to go back to Radzi now.
It was absolutely unthinkable what took place there. You can see a man just joining us here. We're going to talk about that incident. Look, Jake Dennis, who's just joined us here. Jake, on a scale of 1 to 10, how exhausted are you right now?
So I'm taking a seat. I'm hot. It's really hot. But yeah, pretty exhausted, to be honest. Really difficult race. Complete opposite race to how I thought it was going to go. It was almost flat out from the start. So it was like 36 qualifying laps in a row. So yeah, really demanding race for all of us. But yeah, came home with 18 points. Honestly, a little bit disappointed, but yeah, we'll try again tomorrow.
What's really telling is a couple of races ago on radio, you'd said, I don't want to risk pushing for P1. I don't want to take that risk with 10 laps to go. That was not the case here. You rolled the dice.
Yeah, I rolled the dice, and obviously I did two pretty ballsy moves before that on Jeb or Stoffel and Max, and they left me just enough room, as they should. And it was like on the dust, on the limit. But yeah, I felt like Pascal's move was a bit aggressive. You know, he shoved me right up against the wall, and then I had to like hit as much brake pressure as I could to basically not hit the back of him. And I mean, for me, it was a bit on the limit, but ultimately we come home with 18 points, and you know, Nick finished P7. It's a bit of a shame Pascal won.
What's telling about this guy here? 3 back-to-back podiums, and he's disappointed.
Well, I mean, race drivers, I mean, you know how they are. I mean, we're only, if we have a car that can win, or if we're there close to the win, we want to win. If we don't win it, we get a bit upset. Let me ask you, what about tomorrow? Do you guys think you guys have the same opportunity? Is the car good for tomorrow? These 2 more laps, will it change a lot?
I think it will come into favour of us, to be honest. You know, the extra 2 laps does actually have quite a big effect on the energy. So I think the first sort of 10, 15 laps, we'll see a bit more overtaking, not so much like in a succession. But yeah, I think it will only help the racing. At least from the front, it was really difficult to overtake today. So I'm not too sure how it was further back. So hopefully we can put on a better show and really create some good overtaking. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I need to recover tonight for sure, and come back swinging tomorrow.
Kelvin, it was so impressive. For me, what's telling about Jake here is it was a physical race. Jake's about as fit as he's ever been, and we're seeing the rewards of that here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, guys like Jake, obviously you can see he's been training a bit in the off-season for the new cars. New cars are physical, but yeah, I have one question actually. Look, a lot of guys went for the move in turn 1. It looked like you just obviously really had to go for it. How difficult is it, especially here with the energy target being so high, to commit to the brakes? We saw like also Cassidy trying the same move as you. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult. You have to have a lot of trust in the guy ahead of you to ultimately leave you the space, and then you just need a lot of trust in the systems, the car, and you know, when you hit the brakes, the dust is so like, is a lot, and you really need to just hit and hope, really. And yeah, we pulled it off today twice. I tried it on Pascal, didn't quite work, but yeah, hopefully tomorrow the track's a bit cleaner on the inside as well, because I'm sure a few people tried to overtake there, so we should see a bit more overtaking as well.
Jake, thank you for your time. We know you're shattered, so you go and give your mic to Mike over there. We'll see you tomorrow. This man's got to go. No rest for the wicked here, mate. Unbelievable performance. Pascal Wehrlein, that was a defensive masterclass. You must be delighted.
Yeah, awesome race. Was quite tricky. The start was good, and then I think strategy-wise we did the perfect thing. But afterwards it was quite tricky because I was leading for many laps, and I knew that the others could build an energy advantage. So yeah, I had to defend once. Quite hard, I would say, but yeah, it worked out, and yeah, very happy with the result today. Already qualifying was good, and now in the race to confirm that with a good race is awesome. And yeah, the last couple of races were not great, but the team did an awesome job, and definitely that's very good for our motivation, very good for the team. I know that the last couple of weeks has been hard for the team, and there was a lot of work why we were so strong in the beginning and not in the last couple of races, and yeah, finally we bounced back.
Now just 2 points separating you and Cassidy in the standings. One final question. How do you look this good after doing what you did out there? Everyone looks shattered, you look fresh.
Ah, yeah, thank you very much. Maybe it's my time.
It's the time, it's working. Pascal, massive congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again tomorrow, my friend. What a performance that was. I'll take the microphone, don't worry about that there. It's all haphazard here. Now what's crazy is I mentioned to Jake Dennis off air about the Jaguar incident. He had no idea about what took place. So let's head to the driver's room to find out their reaction of what took place, because there was so much drama and so much to listen out for. We'll see what they can say and what they can think.
Look, you didn't read it. Oh, you missed it, mate. Phones! You watch? What happened? Bad, huh? Oh, I'm a bit... And you or Seb? Oh, gone. Is that David? Did it, Jeff? Yeah. It's a bit awkward, isn't it? I mean, I don't know where you could go there, actually. Where do you end up? Where?
My steering went full rack.
Strong Pascal this weekend. You went to Bali in turn 1, huh? Oh mate, I disappeared. Fully.
It's so annoying when you see someone going wide and they just make it back right in front of you.
No, he was never gonna make it back in front of me. You're right.
Oh man. Oh my.
That was a very nice one. Very nice, Chris. That's a good one.
Chip. That's what you were saying.
Hey, you're lucky your wrist there, or your hands.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Huh? Come on, man. Come on, man. But it's not nice to race on a track that dirty, man, because possibilities are...
Tomorrow, rain.
For you?
For me.
Yes. Oi!
That was a bit late, huh?
That was a... Jake didn't look so happy, huh?
No?
Yeah,
he moved a bit.
That's bad. No, it's okay. They don't give penalties for moving at turn 1 though. So I think it's okay.
They were giving penalties for that.
It's okay.
You in control last year, right?
It was actually the just turned in, yeah.
Oh, it's running. What happened there?
Can't park your car there, mate. Hello? I just made it down that way.
Oh no.
No.
No. Who's behind? Who's
Sam?
Yeah. Oh. Oh no.
Yeah.
Mitch didn't even apply the brakes, he's just in disbelief. Man. Rolling backwards.
On the crash box.
Aye. And then I think René hit Sam later.
Yeah, in turn 3, huh?
Yeah. Ah, you closed the door.
A bit. Clock. I think you didn't want...
No, it was a move of the day.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Limit. I like limits.
I get him back from Paris season 2.
He's still deeper.
Yeah, today I'm okay now.
Okay.
Today I'm good.
Go.
Always fascinating to hear from the drivers. We're going to get to it all over again tomorrow. Nelson, it's been an absolute pleasure. He's going to be back after a long sleep, as is this man who's been worth his weight in gold, by the way, it has to be said. And in terms of tomorrow, if the racing is anything like today, it's not just the temperature that will be red hot. See you tomorrow.